Hello, this is week 24. Welcome all, and we are on session 1. Yes, so we are today interestingly reading a topic called How to Use Your Subconscious Mind for Forgiveness. So, this topic is very interesting about forgiveness, that whom to forgive, and how to become easy on oneself and our in life. So, we shall start. Yes, Shilpi, continue. You'll read.
Yeah, I will. How to use your subconscious mind for forgiveness. Life plays no favorites. God is life, and this life principle is flowing through you this moment. God loves to express Himself as harmony, peace, beauty, joy, and abundance through you. This is called the will of God or the tendency of life. If you set up resistance in your mind to the flow of life through you, this emotional congestion will get snarled up in your subconscious mind and cause all kinds of negative conditions. God has nothing to do with unhappy or chaotic conditions in the world. Man's negative and destructive thinking brings about all these conditions. Therefore, it is silly to blame God for your trouble or sickness. Many persons habitually set up mental resistance to the flow of life by accusing and reproaching God for the sin, sickness, and suffering of mankind. Others pass the blame on God for their pains, aches, and loss of loved ones, personal tragedies, and accidents. They are angry at God that they believe He is responsible for their mistakes. As long as people entertain such negative concepts about God, they will experience the automatic negative reactions from their subconscious mind. Actually, such people do not know that they are punishing themselves. They must see the truth, find release, and give up all condemnation, resentment, and anger against anyone or any power outside themselves. Otherwise, they cannot go forward into a healthy, happy, and creative activity. The minute these people entertain a God of love in their minds and hearts, and when they believe that God is their loving Father who watches over them, cares for them, guides them, sustains and strengthens them, this concept and belief about God or the life principle will be accepted by their subconscious mind, and they will find themselves blessed in countless ways.
Amazing thing. See, so it is silly to blame God, and we are only habitual. See, many persons habitually set up mental resistance to the flow of life by accusing and reapproaching God for the sin, sickness, and suffering of mankind. So actually, such people do not know that they are punishing themselves. See, actually, this is very common, but it should not be that common now. We were talking little abhi 5 minutes back about the same thing, na? That we punish ourselves only when we think of the something which is going against us. Actually, it is not going against us. It is our belief of seeing that situation like that, right? So therefore, see now he's talking about other cast the blame on God for their pains, aches, and loss of loved ones, personal tragedies and accidents. So often we say na that this is because of God never wanted, या मुझे मेरे कर्मों की सजा मिली है. We often say this, that I'm being punished. We are not being punished. We have just not set the right thought process in us. And that is why we suffer. And that is why he's saying if you set up resistance in your mind to the flow of life through you, this emotional congestion will get snarled up in your subconscious mind and cause all kinds of negative conditions. God has nothing to do with unhappy or chaotic conditions in the world. Man's negative and destructive thinking brings about all these conditions. Therefore, it is silly to blame God for the trouble or sickness. So, but in the other case, how to see it now? Loving father who watches over them. So, if we think that he is a parent and a parent who is very loving, who is very kind, but before that, if you to look at God, there is an impression. We always carry a very wonderful impression that for God everything is possible. Secondly, God is very loving. He has unconditional love. So when when we stand in front of any idol or something, we always feel that no, if nobody else is listening, at least God is listening. He
Yes.
always has an open heart and an open ear for us,
Right.
right? So when that is happening in our own mind, we start, actually convincingly talking to him. And that is actually somewhere a very good way to convey to the universe what you want, or God what we want. Right. So in fact, it is like it becomes like a prayer. As in the previous chapters, we have heard that there is um, we are having prayers. We do prayers for our own conviction that something good should happen. People, you know, God is listening. God is my best friend. When I used to pray in the beginning, when I didn't knew how to, do prayers or how to ask, I actually started doing this. I actually sat in front of the temple and I used to speak to God for hours. That this is what it is like pouring my. I didn't have any friends or something, and I was like, no gossip. You don't have to say anything to anyone. So how do you convince and whom then to talk? Then I used to have these conversations with God. You seek, you tell me what should I do. Now you guide me further. So that is how the intellect, started developing. The intuition started developing, and that is actually the power through which the God is actually answering our questions. So this is what he's saying. When you have a firm belief, nothing will happen. At least God is there. He'll help me. He'll do something good for me, and I'll get all the answers. Everything will work out for me. In that conviction, when you start praying, you actually start moving in that direction. Ritika, there is a noise in आपकी तरफ से. Please mute now. Thank you. So let's continue. Continue, Pardashi, please.
Yeah. Life always forgives you. Life forgives you when
Ritika, please mute yourself. Yes. Shilpi, unmute now.
life forgives when you cut your finger, the subconscious intelligence within you sets about immediately to repair it. New cells build bridges over the cut. Should you take some painted food by error, life gives you, life forgives you and causes you to regurgitate it in order to preserve you. If you burn your hand, the life principle reduces the edema and congestion and gives you new skin, tissues, and cells. Life holds no grudges and it is always for life brings you back to health, vitality, harmony, and peace. If you cooperate with thinking in harmony with nature, negative hurtful memories, bitterness, and ill will clutter up and impede the free flow of the life principle in you.
Yes. So life always forgives you. That means we have the innate healing power to heal our body. So whenever we have a burn, we see that even after putting ointment or something, the skin has started, getting back to its normal position. The skin color changes and we get the skin color back. So that is how it is like. It is like we are at times we are punishing our body, but still, the food which often we eat some food which is actually it takes a lot of time for the digestive enzymes to digest the food, but yet it digests. Even if we go out somewhere, we are very tired. Even then, after some time, we get relaxed. So everything is actually happening inside the body. So we can say that in spite of doing very nonsense things, the body is always forgiving. So the cells are always repairing themselves on their own. So that is a wonderful mechanism. So actually, he's taking that life always forgives you. That means that even if we do something outside, like if we have cut a finger, that means we have done something to cut that finger. Even if we have done something like that, there are no sins. And we only start punishing ourselves the cut of the finger means that we did something, we just played with some sharp edged things. We would have been more careful. So in our own mind, if we start, doing some certain nonsense for ourselves, we start creating something as this chapter begin, and we saying that there are set up, if you set up the resistance in your mind to the flow of life through you, this emotional congestion will get snarled up in your subconscious mind and cause all kinds of negative conditions. So when we have done something, the body is always, accepting and forgiving, and it is keeping us healthy. But when we keep on, bagging too many emotions on us, too many hard emotions and too many wrong emotions, then it starts stuffing up. So this is again, he's saying, many persons habitually set up mental resistance to the flow of life by accusing and reproaching God for the sin, sickness, or suffering of the mankind. That means we are not taking our own responsibility and we are throwing that responsibility on God. So that means we are not mindful of our own actions, and we are blaming the other person or blaming God for all the things or all the sadness which is happening for us. Ritika, you want to say something?
नो मैम, बट मैं अनम्यूट करती हूँ तो मुझे वॉइस नहीं आती है आपकी। म्यूट करती हूँ तो
आप ईयरफोन लगा लो ना।
ईयरफोन से भी नहीं आ रही मैम, मैंने सब ट्राई कर लिया। आपको डिस्टर्ब हो रहा है मैम?
एक्चुअली पीछे से आपके बैकग्राउंड में से थोड़ा सा वॉइस आता है तो यहाँ पे डिस्टर्बेंस हो जाती है, बाकी कोई दिक्कत नहीं है।
वॉइस तो कुछ है ही नहीं, पता नहीं नेटवर्क की वजह से आ रहा है।
हाँ, कोई बात नहीं, चलो। यस शिल्पी, कंटिन्यू।
Okay. How he banished that feeling of guilt. I knew a man who worked every night until about 1 o'clock in the morning. He paid no attention to his 2 boys or his wife. He was always too busy working hard. He thought people should pat him on the back because he was working so arduously and persistently past midnight every night. He had a blood pressure of over 200 and was full of guilt. Unconsciously, he proceeded to punish himself by hard work, and he completely ignored his children. A normal man does not do that. He is interested in his boys and in their development. He does not shut his wife out of his work. I explained to him why he was working so arduously. There is something eating you inside, otherwise, you would not act this. You are punishing yourself, and you have to learn to forgive yourself. He did have a deep sense of guilt. It was towards a brother. I explained to him that God was not punishing him, but that he was punishing himself. For example, if you misuse the laws of life, you will suffer accordingly. If you put your hand on a naked charged wire, you will get burned. The forces of nature are not evil. It is your use of them that determines whether they have a good or evil effect. Electricity is not evil. It depends on how you use it. Whether to burn down a structure or light up a home. The only sin is ignorance of the law, and the only punishment is the automatic reaction of man's misuse of the law. If you misuse the principle of chemistry, you may blow up the office or the factory. If you strike your hand on a board, you may cause your hand to bleed. The board is not for that purpose. Its purpose may be to lean upon or to support your feet. This man realized that
Wait,
God
Shilpi,
does not
wait.
condemn a
Shilpi, wait. Wait. See, in the previous one, in the last line, he has written negative, hurtful memories, bitterness, and ill will clutter up and impede the free flow of life principle in you. Negative, hurtful memories, bitterness, and ill will clutter up and impede the free flow of life, of the life principle in you. So now what that means, there are some negative emotions which are actually hurting us, and we want, and we are carrying a lot of guilt. So now he's saying, now the first feeling he's talking about is the guilt. So how is the guilt affecting us? See, when we say that people have gone so much, they have engrossed themselves in work. That means they are not living a balanced life. that means they are running from their own emotions and they are too busy in their work so that they don't feel the pain. So when they don't feel the pain gets numb in the body and and it starts, acting reverse. So inside he has that guilt of maybe not providing enough or something. That is the reason he is having all these emotions and he's trapped. So unconsciously, he proceeded to punish himself by hard work and he completely ignored his children. A normal man does not do that. He is interested in his boys and in their development. He does not shut his wife out of his world. So that means he is literally running from his own emotions because facing our own emotions is not an easy job. And the more we run from it, there is no solution to it until unless we have to face it and until unless we have to release it. So ultimately, if our life is not balanced somewhere, we are harming our own self only. So that there he's saying, I explained to him that God was not punishing him, but that he was punishing himself. For example, if you misuse the laws of life, you will suffer accordingly. If you put your hand on a naked charged wire, you will burn. The forces of nature are not evil. It is your use to them that determines whether they have a good or evil effect. See, so it is like a neutral thing. And whatever impressions we are carrying, we are just reciprocating through them. Suppose a person is thinking that I am working hard, so everybody should pat me. But originally, when he is overlooking to other aspects of his life, especially the family life, the social life, then what is he doing? He is actually running from his emotions in the expectations of that, he wants that praise. Actually, he's looking for that praise. And he, in that praise, he is actually working hard, thinking that he should be patted for. Otherwise, why we need, that pat? Because when we feel the lack of it, when we feel the lack of appreciation in it, and instead, what is happening? Is appreciating.
Lack of appreciation from within us ना अपने अंदर से ही वो there is lack ना so we are seeking it outside.
Yes, yes. So we are seeking it outside इसलिए क्योंकि बाहर से we are mostly outdriven. We don't understand inside it is outdriven. So when we are outdriven, we feel, a parent should applaud me. When you are not applauded enough and you don't feel that you're good enough, you tend to work hard. And then there starts a guilt. And what is that guilt telling actually? That you're not good enough. Whereas this was never the case. It is only the five senses have perceived a belief and he's just operating through that. कुछ हमने मान लिया है अपने अंदर. And then they are just trying to prove it. Right? So then he's saying, if you misuse the principle of the only sin is the ignorance of the law, and the only punishment is the automatic reaction of man's misuse of the law. So, if you misuse the principle of chemistry, you may blow up the office or the factory. If you strike your hand on a board, you may cause your hand to bleed. The board is not for for that purpose. Its purpose may be to lean upon or to support your feet. But that is again the thing. Now we are using it. We are using in a different way. We are not using the board for the purpose of as a board. If we are using it to hit, we have misused it. So similarly, if you misuse the laws of life, you will suffer accordingly. If you put your hand on a naked charged wire, you will get burned. So the law of life or the law of life means peace and harmony. There is that peace and harmony within us. So when we, see everybody through that harmony, through that love, that there is nobody who's, whom I have to punish or something, because we are outdriven, we we lose this sense of our own being and our own qualities. Okay. Yes. Continue.
This man realized that God does not condemn or punish anyone, and that all his suffering was due to the reaction of his subconscious mind to his own negative and destructive thinking. He had cheated his brother at one time, and the brother had now passed on. Still, he was full of remorse and guilt. I asked him, "Would you cheat your brother now?" He said no. Did you feel you were justified at that time? At the time? His reply was yes. But you would not do it now. He added, "No, I am helping others to know how to live." I added the following comment: "You have a greater reason and understanding now. Forgiveness is to forgive yourself. Forgiveness is getting your thoughts in line with the divine law of harmony. Self condemnation is called hell, bondage and restriction. Forgiveness is called heaven, harmony and peace." Actually, I have misprinted this book for the next 1.5 days.
No
So
problem.
I can't
I'll
read.
read. The burden of guilt and self-condemnation was lifted from his mind, and he had a complete healing. The doctor tested his blood pressure, and it had become normal. The explanation was the cure. So basically, what happened was he had he think his brother had cheated on him, and he had actually murdered him. So when he had done, he says, I don't have any guilt. So that means he accepted that he has done it, and he has done it right. But he still he now when he understands the power of subconscious, he understands that that was never the case. Okay, so this is what he's saying. The man realized that God does not condemn nor punish anyone, and all that his suffering was due to the reaction of his subconscious mind of his own negative and destructive thinking. So actually, maybe he never cheated. He was never cheated. He did it. So when he realized his mistake, he moved into guilt. Right? Because whenever we are very angry, we don't know how to, reframe our words. Whatever comes to the mouth, we just puke out. And then later on, we realize, oh, I should have not said this. And why we puked out? Because it was somewhere or the other, it was already being inside. It was all gathered inside. We were not able to express at that moment of time. So when we keep on assuming wrong things and wrong this thing, obviously the anger happens. And when the anger happens, it only disturbs us. And that is the automatic reaction to it. Okay. So the burden of guilt and self-condemnation was lifted from his mind when he realized that it's all over, and now he started helping people to again reframe their mind, restructure their own thought process. So ultimately, it gave him a good life lesson, and it gave him a good purpose to look forward. Then the next point is a murderer learned to forgive himself. A man who murdered his brother in Europe visited me many years ago. He was suffering from great mental anguish and torture, believing that God must punish him. He explained that his brother had been having an affair with his wife and that he had shot him on the spur of the moment. This had happened about 15 years previous to his interview with me. In the meantime, this man had married an American girl and had been blessed with three lovely children. He was in a position where he helped many people and he was a transformed man. My explanation to him was that physically and psychologically, he was not the same man who shot his brother, since scientists inform us that every cell of our bodies change every 11 months. Moreover, mentally and spiritually, he was a new man. He was now full of love and God will be and good will for the humanity. The old man who committed the crime 15 years before was mentally and spiritually dead. Actually, he was condemning an innocent man. This explanation had a profound effect on him, and he said that it was a great weight that had been lifted from his mind. He realized the significance of the following truth in the Bible. Come now, let us reason together, saith the Lord. Though your sins be as the scarlet, they shall be as the white as snow. Though they shall be red and like crimson, they shall be as the wool. So what he means here basically is that when he was when he murdered his friend who was having an affair with his wife, his brother was having an affair. Sorry. So when he murdered his own brother, and he was still carrying that guilt. So imagine, even after killing that man, the anger and the repression was still there. There was some guilt there. There was some feeling still there. So he had to overcome that. And when what happens is very beautiful explanation of a multi, you've left your old version behind and you have entered a new version of yourself. So that how many things are we holding in the present moment still of as a past memories? And we are still in those painful memories. But as we start shifting, it's only, he's saying, my explanation to him was that physically and psychologically, he was not the same man who shot his brother. Because after 11 months, our body totally changes. Every cell of our body changes. So when we start giving ourselves a new information of forgiveness, of love, of, spreading that humanity, then what happens is of that harmony, the entire situation changes. So we are no more feeling, we are no more carrying that information in ourselves that this happened previously. So in case, if you are carrying any of such emotions, which are hard emotions, sit down with yourself for some time today and just reflect how long I've been holding and why am I holding and what it is to be a different version of me. That means who does not carry all these emotions, but how? These are the self contemplation points. When you sit with yourself and you speak to yourself like this, your subconscious will start answering you where you have to move. What is the next version? Because somewhere or the other, those how many months have passed, how many 11, 11, 11, and how many months have passed. So if we keep on shifting our emotions and keeping our body cells changing with the new information, of course the old version of you will die. It's gone, right? Any question? Shall I continue?
Yes.
Okay.
Para, then I will able to read from how to confess. वहाँ से मैं पढ़ लूंगी.
Sorry.
I'll read from how to be compassionate. Before that, it's a mystery. Another one para you missed.
Okay. Criticism cannot hurt you without your consent. A school teacher told me that one of her associates criticized a speech she had given, saying to her that she spoke too fast, she swallowed some of her words, she couldn't be heard, her diction was poor, and her speech ineffective. The teacher was furious and full of resentment towards her critic. She admitted to me that the criticisms were just. Her first reaction was very childish, and she agreed that the letter was really a blessing and a marvelous corrective. She proceeded immediately to supplement her deficiencies in her speech by enrolling in a course of public speaking in the city college. She wrote and thanked the writer of the note for her interest, expressing appreciation for her conclusions and findings, which enabled the teacher to correct the matter at once. Wonderful thing. See, we all, hate criticism, but when we think that it is not criticism, it is a feedback. When we take it as a healthy feedback, we start growing. It immediately shifts the entire energy from criticism that because the ego gets high. Why did they say to me? Why did this happen? But when you accept something which is actually coming from a genuine source and it is coming for your own growth, it comes to be the best thing to take a feedback as a very positive response for self. And it helps us grow, overcome our own. Mostly what happens is when we are very close proximity of the people, if somebody keeps on telling you something, we'll actually start thinking they don't, they are always complaining. They are always complaining. But if you sit down and ask, what is that? Why are they repeating the same sentence again and again? What is there in me which needs a little bit of shift? But the same thing, if somebody else tells us from the outside, we'll accept. But because we are in the close proximity of people who are around us, we are often, our ego becomes very high. So sit down and relax your mind and start thinking, what is wrong if I just accept it? What will happen if I just accept and actually, start looking at inside? Because the people around us actually know us inside out more than anybody else. So if we can take it as criticism or we can take it as a healthy feedback, right? So next point is how to be compassionate. Pushkarni, you have to say something. Okay, let me continue. How to be compassionate. Suppose none of the things mentioned in the letter had been true of the teacher. The latter would have realized that her class material had upset the prejudices, superstitions, or narrow sectarian belief of the writer of the note, and that a psychologically ill person was simply pouring forth her resentment because a psychological boil had been hurt. To understand this fact is to be compassionate. The next logical step would be to pray for the other person's peace, harmony, and understanding. You cannot be hurt when you know that you are the master of your thoughts, reactions, and emotions. Emotions follow thoughts, and you have the power to reject all thoughts which may disturb or upset you. So, this is again the same thing, when somebody is very rude or very angry, and you have seen it very often, the best thing is to come in union with them. That means being compassionate towards them. When you start looking at their journey and you start understanding, oh, they also had a difficult time. Why they are behaving like this? Why are they acting like this? So your criticism often changes. The mind often, instead of reacting to them, we'll start responding to them and we'll become mellowed down. Now we'll not, reply back in the same form as we used to do earlier, thinking that they are always criticizing. So one point is you can take it as a healthy feedback. Second point is that you can actually start having compassion that they are complaining too much. Let me think about it. Why are they always so angry? Why are they always in this kind of a mood? Then that compassion builds up. When the compassion builds up, your anger settles. Right? So continue. Shilpi, you'll read or you still have the page?
Yeah, I have the page.
Yeah.
Left at the altar. Some years ago, I visited a church to perform a marriage ceremony. The young man did not appear, and at the end of the 2 hours, the bride-to-be shed a few tears and then said to me, I prayed for the divine guidance. This might be the answer, for he never failed. That was her reaction. Faith in God and all things good. She had no bitterness in her heart because, as she said, it must not have been right action because my prayer was the right action for both of us. Someone else having a similar experience would have gone into a tantrum, have had an emotional fit, required sedation, and perhaps needed hospitalization. Tune in with the infinite intelligence within your subconscious depth, trusting the answer in the same way that you trusted your mother when she held you in her arms. This is how you can acquire poise and mental and emotional health.
Hmm. So tune into this infinite intelligence within your subconscious depths, trusting the answer in the same way that you trusted your mother. And she held you in her arms. So it is only, it is like surrendering. It's a beautiful emotion of surrendering to the unconscious, that everything will fall in place instead of creating ripples or creating a what I can say resistance. So instead of creating a resistance, if we just think everything will just fall in place and good, jo hoga acha hoga, everything will be good. So in that phase, everything actually starts appearing to be settled because the emotional energy in us, the turmoil in us has stopped, has put an halt. So everything actually starts falling in place. So it says that, you know, in even in this, when the man didn't turn up for the girl, she is not very panicky. She's just thinking something which happened as a very good. So it's not an easy task at the moment when this is the best thing for you to happen. Such a thing is happening is not an easy. Okay, so we have only a few seconds left. We'll continue with the next session now. Okay. Thank you, dear. We'll join you in the next session.